It's my most favorite time of the year. It is time to predict the top 20 nominees for the best mystery thrillers of the year according to Goodreads. I've been making these videos since 2022 where I make predictions for what I think is going to end up in the Goodreads Choice Awards. I used to do the mystery thriller category and the horror category, but more recently I've been really drilling in on the mystery thriller category in particular and doing my best to see if I can correctly predict what is going to end up in the top 20, the top 10, and be the number one winner for the year. Because I am a type A Virgo, I do all of this in a spreadsheet with a variety of stats. There's really no way to know how Goodreads is selecting these books, so I just try to bring some factors together, combining popularity and how well received these books were, and a little bit of vibes here and there, and I make my predictions for what I think it'll be. The stakes are getting higher this year because each year I've been doing better and better at predicting what's going to be in the top 20. In 2022, I accurately predicted 9 of the books out of the top 20. In 2023, I got 10, and last year in 2024, I got 13. So this year, I'm trying to keep the streak going, try to keep beating myself. So to beat the goal, I'm aiming to get 14 correct, but I like the sound of 15 out of 20, so I'm really aiming for 15. But hopefully I just do perfect and I get all 20. So as I mentioned, I use my spreadsheet. I compile this huge list of mystery thriller books that came out during the year. I have about 100 on the list this year, and I try to use some factors from things I know from the Goodreads Choice Awards and some observations that I've had over the past couple of years to help me inform how I'm going to be picking my top 20. So first and foremost, for a book to be eligible in the awards according to Goodreads, we don't technically have the 2025 rules out yet, so it's possible that they change things, that they add any kind of caveats, but generally every year a book has to have an average rating of a 3.50 or higher at the time of it being selected. It feels like that one's probably not going to change. Also, the time period the book was published is usually pretty consistent, and they actually already said specifically what it will be for this year, which will be books published between November 13th of 2024 and November 11th of 2025. Usually, if there's a series of books, only one book in the series can be nominated in a category. And so far, an author has been able to receive multiple nominations within a single category if they have more than one eligible series or more than one eligible standalone book. If anything were going to change this year, if they were going to add any new rules, I could see them potentially capping that authors can only have 2 books maximum within a category. And if they did that, it would be for Miss Freida because she publishes so many books a year and they're all so widely read. They're so popular that this year I believe she has 4 books. We'll see when we get into the spreadsheet. I think one of them is a short story, but you know, we can't have her making up that large of a percentage of the awards. So I could see them introducing some kind of rule about that. As far as some observations that I've made, I've been looking back at my predictions for the previous years and how that has actually turned out in the Goodreads Choice Awards. And these are some notes that I took for myself. I wanted to look back at the Freida McFadden book specifically because I know she's been publishing so many and I was trying to remember what's happened the previous years. Last year, 2 Freida McFadden books made it into the top 20. She had published another novel that year, but it was a sequel and that one did not make it in. The ones that did were standalone novels. However, in 2023, one of her sequels, The Housemaid's Secret, did make it into the awards. Also last year, despite having a book eligible, Ruth Ware did not make it into the awards, which I just found to be interesting. She's a relatively popular author. I think this year she probably has a better chance of making it into the awards if she has an eligible book because of The Woman in Cabin 10, which has been made into a movie and is now on Netflix. By the way, I just watched that movie the other day. Did not like it. But that's a conversation for another day. Something I also looked into was the mix of literary fiction and historical fiction because for many years you get these books in the Goodreads Choice Awards mystery thriller category that are literary mysteries or historical fiction with a tinge of mystery in the plot. We used to have a lot more of those. In 2023, there were quite a few. So for 2024, I had predicted several more being included than what actually resulted in being in the awards. Last year, there were only 2 books that had more of a literary fiction, historical fiction feel to them. Otherwise, the other books that I thought might have made it into the category were properly categorized. They ended up making it into the literary fiction section and the historical fiction section. So I'm going to trust them on genre categorization a little bit more. There's usually some amount of books I've never heard of that make it into the category somehow, even though I really keep my finger on the pulse of this genre. Somehow things sprinkle in. Last year, there was 1 book that I had never heard of before. I also was thinking about sequels, whether that's the second book in a series or the third, fourth, fifth, anywhere in a series. In 2023, there were 3 sequels that were in the top 20, whereas in 2024, there was only 1. So maybe series are going to be a little less likely to show up. And then I also looked at the split of mystery books to thriller books, which is sometimes a little bit tricky to categorize. There were generally about 6 or 7 books last year that felt more mystery than thriller. So thriller still took up a large portion of it, but we were starting to see more mystery books make it into the category. With all that preamble out of the way, we can now get into the spreadsheet. I have 88 books in here. And if you've been watching these videos over the year, you're probably familiar with my setup. If you're not, I'm gonna go super fast and just let you know what's in here. I track the title. Sometimes I have little notes in here, like if it's the 3rd book in a series, or if it's a short story, or if I think a book might end up in a different category. The author, the pub date, a link on Goodreads, what I personally rated the book. So DNR means I did not read the book. DNF means I started the book, but I did not finish the book. And then obviously my numerical rating out of 5 stars. I have a bonus points section here where I track if something was included in a book of the month pick, a Reese Witherspoon book club pick, a GMA or a Jenna Reads book club pick, an Aardvark book club pick. And this year I added 1 new factor, which is if the author made it into the top 20 of this category in the last 2 years. All of that factors in an amount of bonus points that go to a book, which is just a nice visual to help me see if I'm between books. Once we're starting to narrow things down, maybe these have a better chance of making it into the awards. The average rating of the book in Goodreads, this is at the time that I pull it. Obviously, these numbers are going to fluctuate a little bit by the time you're seeing this video and before the awards actually come out, but we put our stakes in the ground today. The number of ratings a book has, the number of reviews. So a rating would be you just put a star rating 1 through 5. A review is someone took the time to type out some words to describe how they felt about the book. And then I track the days since publication so that I can get an average number of reviews that it's gotten since the pub date and an average number of ratings that it's gotten since the pub date to help weigh out comparing books that were published earlier in the year to books that were published just a few weeks ago. And then here's where I'll select what I think will make it into the top 20, top 10. And I use this last column to help me disqualify some books pretty quickly on for things that I know won't make it. So the first thing we can do is we can filter to everything that has below a 3.50 average rating. And all those books are included here. So I can mark all of these as books that will not make the awards. The biggest surprise to me on this list is probably Julie Chan is Dead. If you just watched my most recent video, I was specifically highlighting a couple of books that are in this section that I think deserve higher ratings, that I was surprised to see have low ratings, that hopefully within the next couple of weeks before the awards, maybe more people can read them and enjoy it, and maybe it has a chance to make it into the awards. I really enjoyed Julie Chan is Dead, and I feel like a lot of people enjoyed it this year, so I was surprised to see the average rating so low. Some of these other ones maybe aren't as big of a surprise to me, but Julie Chan is Dead, With a Vengeance, and The Last Session were the 3 that I spotlighted in my last video. So if those are on your TBR, if you haven't read them yet, if they're sitting on your shelves, give them a chance. Maybe they'll have an opportunity to make it into the awards. But right now, all of these gotta go. Next, I'm going to sort by average rating, and we'll look at the really low 3.5s, 3.6s, and see if there's anything that feels like it won't make it in. I did say I'm going to trust them on their genre classification this year, so I haven't read The Compound yet, but it seems like it probably fits more in the fiction category. We'll see if that happens. How to Survive a Horror Story is also one that could go in mystery thriller. It could go in horror. I don't know where I'd put it, and I've read it. I read that for Gabby's book club recently. We had a discussion about it on her channel, and we all kind of felt like we didn't know if this would sit more mystery thriller or more horror. It definitely has elements of both. It has horror in the name, so it's hard to know with that one, but I'm gonna go ahead and maybe knock it out. It's generally kind of lower in the number of ratings and reviews that it has, even over the span, averaging out for days since publication. So we'll say that one won't make it. I also don't know if this has any real credence to anything, but it's first shelved as horror on Goodreads. I feel like these probably just go in the order of number of times it's been shelved as this genre. I don't really know, but that makes it feel like maybe it will sit there more than it would in the mystery thriller. So we're gonna knock that one out. There's a couple shorter things like Death Row by Freida McFadden. Even though it's by Freida McFadden, it's only like 70 pages or something, so I don't think that will make it. And then You Are the Detective, The Creeping Hand Murder by Maureen Johnson and Jay Cooper. That's kind of like a short illustrative book. I don't feel like that would make it in. And then The Deadly Book Club. This is the day that I'm actually filming this video, 10/21, so it's just coming out today. Probably won't have a good chance to get many more reviews, or it might even end up dragging the rating down with that coming out. I don't feel like this one's super likely, but I won't count it out fully yet. We'll just leave it to that for additional books I'm going to disqualify. And then now I'm going to look at the top, and let's start picking what I think will make it in. This is when things go a little bit based on vibes. Oh, I found another one that could maybe go in a different category. Heartwood. I was suspecting this one might end up in fiction, and fiction's the first genre, but I won't count it out fully yet. Lots of sequel books here. This is also a sequel. I'll expand that a bit. So many books in a series in these top average rated books, which makes sense because if people are continuing to read the series, they're probably going to rate it well if they're continuing to invest in the series. I just don't know if we'll end up with that many. I feel like maybe a good starting point is combining average rating with specifically authors that have made it in for the last 2 years. So the Richard Osman books in the Thursday Murder Club series almost always make it in. They may have literally always made it in. Karen Slaughter feels like a good contender. This book, Love Mom, this has been on my radar all year. Let me actually change this so we can see the authors as well. Ileana Zander. This is a book that I think is a Kindle Unlimited book that really got a lot of traction on TikTok. Huge average rating, lots of readers. This definitely feels like one of those types of books that'll make it in that otherwise, had I not been paying attention, I would have looked at it and I would have been like, I've never heard of that book because I only see it on TikTok. But I was paying attention. I was looking for it this year, and hopefully I found the sneaky contender. The Claire McIntosh book, I don't feel super confident about. The sequel to Vera Wong, the first Vera Wong book did make it into the top 20 the year that that book came out. And this does have a nice average rating with a high number of ratings and reviews. I read that one and also really liked it. S.A. Cosby feels like someone who will make it in. And then, of course, a Freida McFadden book. This one's standing out. Oh, already caught a typo. Geneva Rose is one I'm unsure about because she has this book Dating After the End of the World, but she also has The Perfect Divorce. Both of them look like they're being received well. This one has a lot more ratings and reviews, but again, it is a sequel. We'll just put it on this preliminary list. I kind of just go through in the beginning and compile what feels right, and then I see how many we have near 20, so we'll just see what happens. The Maid's Secret, every book in this series has made it in. So it feels like this one would, but I also just don't know. These numbers are standing out to me, these 500s. Oh, another Geneva Rose. I don't know about those. This Frida book obviously stands out. Stacey Willingham, K. Alice Marshall, Lisa Jewell, another Freida McFadden that stands out. Sarah Pekkanen, who has made it in, but doesn't have the best stats. The first book in this series made it in last year, but not getting a huge readership here. And we have another Kate Alice Marshall book. She had 2 books this year. This one definitely does not seem as popular as A Killing Cold. Alice Feeney book standing out. I do think because the movie just came out, we might see The Woman in Suite 11, even though Ruth Ware was not there last year. Maybe this Ashley Flowers book. I'm gonna select these because those look high, that looks high, that looks high. And then I wanna see what has a lot of bonus points that I'm not including. Count My Lies by Sophie Strava. I have a feeling about this one. Sometimes I just get these feelings about these books, and First Lie Wins was one that I just had a feeling about last year. Count My Lies by Sophie Strava, I just have a feeling about this year. Haven't read it, feel like it's gonna be there. Also feel that way about The Ghostwriter. Also felt that way about Party of Liars, just because this was also getting a lot of traction on TikTok, but comparatively it doesn't look huge, but we'll still put it in the first round. Ooh, Samantha Downing, that feels like a good contender. Gillian McAllister, maybe. Megan Miranda, maybe. I really love The Man Made of Smoke. It's one of my favorites of the year, and it does have a big number of ratings, so maybe. Also really like You Are Fatally Invited. We'll put that one in the initial round just because I liked it. Cross My Heart, I really did not like that one. What's this? Oh, a J.D. Robb book. I don't think that the 61st book in a series will make it in here, despite its incredibly high average rating. I don't see that happening. Feel the same way about Dan Brown. I don't really see this book making it in, but it could be one of those wild cards. Let's not disqualify it entirely, I guess. And then the John Mars book. I think the Stephen King book will go in the horror category. I don't think we'll have to worry about that. This Carter Wilson book, maybe, because it has big readership and I feel like he's kind of a hit on TikTok. The Ashley Winstead, maybe. And then Alex Finlay, maybe. Okay, now I'm gonna sort by, let's do number of reviews. Or let's do average number of reviews since the pub date. Okay, most of these top ones are included. What am I missing? Guilty by Definition, what the heck is that? Okay, is that a sign that this is gonna be a book I've never heard of? Obviously I heard of it for like a minute when I put it in the spreadsheet, but what the heck is this? It was published at the end of September, so it's new. It's starting a series set in Oxford. Is this historical? What is this? From resident lexicographer Susie Dent comes a linguistic mystery that will both delight and shock readers. Who is this? Who is this lexicographer? Is she famous for something? Who are you? I just don't know what this is, and this would be crazy to predict considering I've never heard of it, but I almost feel like I need to put something I've never heard of because I don't want them to get me this year. I want to at least like know of everything that makes it into the awards. I'll put it on the early contender list. We've got a lot. We've got a lot to narrow down. I'll include the Sarah Pekkanen book too, because why not? Okay, this is 35 books that I've selected. So I have to get rid of 15 of them. Let me noodle on this, and then I'll come back and let you know what happened. Okay, I got it to 23 books. I needed to get 3 out, and these are the ones I'm thinking of bumping out, and I think I'm just gonna go for it. The Alice Feeney book, very popular, very low rating. Kind of close to that 3.5 threshold. Feels kind of crazy, but that's what my heart's going with because this is supposed to be the best books of the year, not just the most popular. Obviously, it's always the most popular, but I have to hope that they're weighting average rating a little bit more heavily. So that one's gonna go. The Woman in Suite 11, the more I looked at it, this one's also standing out as not being super well received. I don't think the movie's gonna weigh too much on it, and Ruth Ware didn't make it in last year, and I thought the book last year was even better than The Woman in Suite 11. Though I still enjoyed The Woman in Suite 11, I really liked One Perfect Couple, so this one's gotta go. And then Count My Lies, I don't know why I feel this. Maybe it's because it was both of a book of a month pick and a GMA or a Jenna book club pick. I think this might just be my own bias, assuming this is going to be in the awards because the numbers don't fully add up. So this one's also gonna go. And that is my predictions for the top 20. I ended up going with 2 Freida McFadden books, The Tenant and The Intruder. The Crash, I decided that I don't think it's gonna make it in. Who knows though? Between the Geneva Rose books, I picked The Perfect Divorce, just based on the statistics. I do think this Love Mom book will make it in. Lisa Jewell's new book. It'd be shocking if Richard Osman's book and the Thursday Murder Club series didn't make it in. I think Holly Jackson's Not Quite Dead Yet has a pretty good chance of making it in. Karen Slaughter's new book. Sherry Lapina, this is one that I might be a little bit iffy on, but the stats for this one look pretty good. Stacey Willingham's new book. She's also known to make it into the awards. This Claire Douglas book, I don't know much about, but the stats looked good. The Ashley Flowers book, she's popular as a podcaster and the stats looked good for that one. The new Gillian McAllister book. This random Susie Dent book that I had never heard of before. Julie Clark's new book, The Ghostwriter. S.A. Cosby's new book, King of Ashes. Samantha Downing's Too Old for This, the follow-up to the Vera Wong series from Jessie Q. Sutanto, the 3rd book in the Maid series from Nita Prose, and A Killing Cold from Kate Alice Marshall. I just need to pop in while I'm editing this, and I have laundry going, so sorry if you can hear that, and say that I filmed this a couple of days ago. I've had time to sit on it and step away from it. Now I'm back looking at it, editing this video, and some things just feel a little bit off to me looking at this top 20, and I just needed to change some things out. First of all, I forgot about a couple books. These are some of the books that did not make it into my spreadsheet, were not on my radar. I've read most of these books. I read The Ex-Girlfriend Murder Club. I enjoyed that. I read We Don't Talk About Carol. I enjoyed that. I read Night Watcher. It was a little bit disappointing to me, but generally it was fine. The Matchmaker, I did not love. Detective Auntie, I enjoyed. I did not read History Lessons, and I loved The Marigold Cottages Murder Collective, and I gave that 5 stars. I went and I looked at the stats of all these books, and everything considered, I think We Don't Talk About Carol and Detective Auntie could make it in. So then I went back to my top 20 and I narrowed down which ones I feel like I have lower confidence in for one reason or another. Either their stats, something about it felt off. When I looked back at The Wrong Sister by Claire Douglas, that was originally published in 2024, and I don't know if I looked at that wrong, if it was published again in 2025, I don't know, but that felt weird to me. And in general, I just feel like we need some more mysteries on here, some more cozy mysteries, and these were the ones that I spotlighted. If I had to swap in anything, these are the ones that were feeling a little bit iffy to me. So I decided on the 3 that I want to swap out. I'm going to swap out The Wrong Sister, Too Old for This, and A Killing Cold. Samantha Downing, I guess, has actually never made it into the Goodreads Choice Awards. That was surprising to me, but appears to be the case from what I saw looking back at her books. And Kate Ellis Marshall doesn't make it in as much as I thought she did either. She has before, but I was thinking she was kind of like a shoo-in, and I don't necessarily think she is. Also, I do think average rating weighs a little bit more heavily, and some of these books had lower average ratings, and it just felt like these were the ones that maybe had to go. And I decided that I want to swap in We Don't Talk About Carol, Detective Auntie, and then actually I also wanted to swap in The Killer Question by Janice Hallett because I don't think she's made it in before, but I feel like she's growing in popularity. Her books are amazing and they have really good average ratings. This book has a great average rating. I love this book. I love Janice Hallett, and I think this might be her year. So this is what my revised top 20 actually looks like. We'll see how I do. From this, now I'm going to predict the top 10, and the important thing to know is that now voters come in. So everyone gets presented the top 20. You can then go vote on what you want to make it in, and that is what informs the top 10. So typically you would assume that Frida McFadden's votes would maybe get split across her fan base, but that was not enough to stop her last year. Her books still made it into the top 10, so I do think both of those will make it into the top 10. I mostly am looking at readership here, this average number of ratings since the pub date, because it is voter informed. So I'm going to generally kind of go in order down the list here. I don't know if Love Mom's popularity is going to translate to Goodreads Choice Awards votes though, so I'm going to skip that one. Geneva Rose seems like she has a good chance. Lisa Jewell, definitely. Richard Osman, definitely. Not the most sure about Holly Jackson, Karen Slaughter, or Sherry Lapina. Stacey Willingham, I'm not feeling super strong about that either, or Claire Douglas, or Ashley Flowers. Maybe Gillian McAllister. I think some of this is going to come to like author recognition. I do feel like The Ghostwriter was pretty popular and the average rating's really high. S.A. Cosby feels well known and loved. Samantha Downing feels well known and loved. Jessie Q. Sutanto, this is going to be recognizable to people and it has a really high average rating. So perhaps the second book in the Maid series did not make it into the top 10 last year, so I won't select that one. Maybe Kate Ellis Marshall. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, that's a perfect 10. Let me sort by number of total ratings. Ooh, I thought that was going to line up a little bit better. Maybe, I don't know. Average rating. Okay, this one, I'm good for going that one. I do think Lisa Jewell will do well though, because I feel like people will just vote on her name. Let's go with Karen Slaughter. Okay, I feel good about that. So those are my predictions for the top 10. And then for what I think will win, due to the number of voters, I did expect Frida McFadden to win last year, I think, but it did get split once we got to that top 10 part, and then that book didn't win. What won last year was The God of the Woods, which was more literary fiction. It was a big book of the month club. I think it was GMA. It was a very popular general population type of mystery thriller. I don't really have one of those in my top 10, which may mean that I've made some mistakes along the way, but it's too late. This is what we're going with. Let's see. This seems to suggest that perhaps a Frida book would win, because even with 2 books, the sheer amount of ratings this gets in general over the span of its publication is still more than double the next book up on the list. Geneva Rose does have a big social media following that she can maybe get to vote for her, but I don't think it's crazy to assume that a Frida book's gonna win this year. And based on average ratings, people seem to like The Intruder better, but I think that one's more recent. Yeah, that one came out in October. I have not read The Intruder. I did read The Tenant, gave it a 2-star. My thoughts on Frida McFadden mean nothing compared to the general population. So which do I think is more like the one that people have more time to read or the one that's fresh on their minds? Probably the one that people have had more time to read. I'm gonna guess that we see The Tenant win. Should it? No, it should not. And I have a feeling in general, I'm either gonna be really right about a lot of these this year or really, really wrong about a lot of these. It's gonna go one of two ways, I'm not sure. Hopefully goes the good direction. If it were up to me based on what I read this year, these are the books in the order of my ratings. The Man Made of Smoke and The Retirement Plan were definitely my favorite mystery thrillers that I've read so far this year. I really enjoyed the follow-up to the Vera Wong book. I always love a Janice Hallett. You Are Fatally Invited was a nice surprise. This is a new author for me and I really liked that. And then we're kind of quickly down to the 3.5 average rating and the 3 stars. I had quite a lot of 2s and a 1 this year as well. I don't think this is all of the mystery thrillers I read this year, but definitely was not a great year for me for the mystery thriller category. So maybe that could be swaying me to this year. Maybe I'll be really wildly off. I do not know. You'll just have to follow along to see. So I think I'm gonna do a pretty similar thing to what I did last year, where I'm gonna try to read more books from the category, kind of depending on what ends up in the top 20. Last year, I had read 11 of them by the time the top 20 was announced. So then I just read the other 9. I made a reading vlog of that. Kind of depending on how the numbers fall, what I'm interested in, I'll see if I want to complete the full category again this year or if I want to read maybe just a few, I don't know, TBD. But I'll do that and have some kind of reading vlog or video about that. And then as the awards come out, I will be filming my reactions. And I think what I actually did last year was before I did that reading vlog video, I just put out a video with a reaction for the top 20. Yeah, I think that's what I did. So I'll do a video reacting when the top 20 comes out and seeing how I did. That will come out. And then I'll decide what I want to do from there in terms of if I want to read the full category or what I want to do. And that will take long enough probably to until the top 10 or maybe even the winner is announced. And then I'll include some of that in that video as well. So that's kind of the plan. We'll see. Let me know if you think there's anything I missed, because every year there's undoubtedly something that I miss. If you're like, there's a super popular mystery thriller, you didn't put it on your list, how could you miss this? That always happens. So let me know down below what I might have missed. Let me know how you think I did. Let me know if you think I'm wildly wrong about any books. And if you want to stay tuned with the rest of the series, make sure you subscribe down below. You can also hit the post notification bell to be notified when I post. YouTube has apparently not been doing the best job lately of helping you see my videos. So if you want to make sure you are not missing them, that's a great way to do it, and then you should get those notifications. But for now, that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye.